you for joining us this morning. If you have a question for Coach, please raise your hand and we will get started. We can start with Kareem.
Hey, Mike, how's it going?
Good. Just getting ready for practice here in a little while. So beautiful Vegas. It was only 111 yesterday. So
Did you get yourself some pool time? Kick your feet up a little bit?
no, there's not much time for that at the moment.
Well, now that we've had, a couple weeks to decompress a little bit, can you just share, again, some overall thoughts on the season of, what went well and what you think might have been the thing that kind of held you guys back a little bit from getting over that hump?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sitting here watching these other teams play, and I feel like watching them, we would have competed no matter who we played against, but the level of intensity was going up. And I think from that standpoint, I think we would have handled, the physicality and all that part of the playoff series. But it comes back to the same things we've talked about probably all year. We were a good defensive team that struggled, from night to night offensively. And that's, something we're going to have to address in the offseason. We have to be way more consistent offensively. We need to be a better three-point shooting team. We need to take more threes. We need to, have people take the load off of, Elena and Ariel. Can't be, dependent on two people every night. I mean, I think there's a lot of ways to go about it, and we got a long time to figure that out. We got a lottery ahead of us for the draft. We've got free agency. There's the possibility of trades, and it's like any other offseason. We've got to go look at every possible way, to change some things. We have 4 free agents of our own. Nothing will be decided on that at the moment because we can't. And so, we're a little ways off for all that.
Before I forget, since you're there in Vegas, was there a reason that Elena and Maisha decided not to participate?
Yeah, I was going to address that. I probably should have just started with that. First of all, Maisha is having surgery at the end of the week. It's an off season. It's a partial patellar tendon repair on her left knee. It's the same injury she had over a year ago. And we figured with, talking to the doctors and her and whether she wanted to go overseas or any of that this was the time to kind of get it cleaned up and make sure that she's good to go next spring. The timeline on that is probably, somewhere in the 3 to 4 month range. Could be a little longer, but we're going to be pretty careful with it. But it's, some time off of her leg and then started working back and building up the strength. Doctors feel very confident about, the prognosis on it, and that she'll have a lot of relief. But she's going to have to do the off-season work. But the decision was, this is probably not the year she necessarily would make a USA team, and to get this done sooner than later, rather than aggravate it more, would be the time to do it. As for Elena, it came down to a decision on her own that, she looked at all the practice schedule and game schedule for this. We've been pretty methodical about, how we've addressed her during the season. And the USA experience right now would be, I think we play something like 8 games in 11 days or whatever it is in the tournament. And on top of practices for several weeks, without our, day-to-day medical part, that would be a really big ask for her to do that, full time. And she feels like, and I know she said it out loud already to some of you, that she feels like going into this off season, this is not a recovery type from surgery thing. This is a continue to build her game type situation. And so she wants, a little bit of downtime and then, get in the gym and start working on parts of her game that she wants to keep expanding and working on like she would in a normal off season. And so the demands of the USA thing in a short amount of time would have put a lot of stress on her. She felt like her recovery and getting to the next thing was more important right now.
Gotcha. So you said it was with Maisha you said a partial tear?
It's a partial patellar tendon repair.
Repair.
So I can't, so I'm not a doctor, but it's, go in and repair a small area in the patella tendon, and there's a procedure that gives it a little bit of relief. I can't begin to explain it to you like it was explained to me. So,
but that thing kind of was nagging at her all throughout the season.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Gotcha.
And it was what caused her to miss a fair amount of time the year before.
Gotcha. And I'm just going to ask one more and share with the rest of the room. At the time that we had talked, you hadn't finished out all your end of season interviews and things like that with the players. I'm curious what the conversation was like, or what can you share with us with Alicia? Do you guys feel like, I know she's obviously hitting free agency and, nothing's set in stone, but do you guys feel, is she interested in coming back? Are you guys interested in having her back? Can you share a little bit of that?
I'm not going to share any of our postseason exit interviews with our players. I think that's private. Needless to say, we had a lot of positive, and there's a couple I still have not done, particularly, especially with veterans. She had a good conversation with us. She's part of our off-season marketing group of players. I think that she obviously in free agency has a lot of choice that she can make, but we had a very positive conversation about things. On a sad note, just so you know, her father passed away a few days ago, and so we haven't even had any further discussions, but it was very sudden, and so she's dealing with that right now. But the conversation we did have was very positive. So we're going to proceed, this off season trying to see if we can, keep her in DC. But I don't have, that's a long way off, to be honest with you. Come January, that players have, to reassess what they do. We're going to have, no matter what we do, we're going to have to, manage our salary cap. And that affects all of our players that are free agents. How it fits and where they fit in and what else is out there in free agency also to go with it.
Perfect. Appreciate you.
Yep.
Jen.
Hey, Coach, thanks for doing this. I realize it's early out there.
Yeah, well, you guys been bugging me enough. I'll get up and do it.
Elena mentioned to us in her exit interview that she is hopeful that in future seasons she won't have to do as much treatment for her back because she can add strength in the off season. Do you share that optimism, or do you expect that she'll kind of have these planned rest days and kind of build up to being able to play for the rest of her career?
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you what rest days are going to look like going forward. I mean, we're adding 3 or 4 weeks of time to our schedule again next year, to a more normal schedule, but we're also adding 4 games from what I know. And so, we're in a situation where I think, based on what she has said and what our medical people have said, she can have a more normal season. She's learning how to deal with the day-to-day issues that any back surgery person has had, but she feels confident, and I have no reason to not feel confident that it's going to keep getting better. The only thing you're talking about is any player who's now getting older and has had injuries. They have to be very meticulous and careful about how they manage their off season and the season. And so we don't have any kind of particular plan in place for next year until we get closer to next year. We get to March and April, we'll have a better idea of what it looks like. We'll know what our schedule is. I mean, I think you could anticipate that she could miss a handful of games, but probably not a third of the season like she did this year, or close to a third.
And then I was going to ask you about Maisha, and obviously the injury news kind of throws a wrench in what I was going to ask, but she mentioned to us that she was disappointed in how she played this season, thought she was inconsistent and kind of like in her own head a little bit. And obviously it seems like the knee injury may have played a part in that as well. But as you look back on her season, like, how do you feel like do you feel like you used her in the right way? Are there things that you want to try differently with her in the future to kind of unlock the Maisha we've seen in the past?
It's funny, we talk about how we use her, and we had some plans to do kind of expand some things in her game. And every time we kind of got going to that, we had kind of a snafu in it, whether she, had to be held out of practice for some days, or end of the season, we had worked on some things to use going into the playoffs, and then she gets COVID and we had to scrap that. She can be a very versatile player. We all know that she can handle the ball. She can be a point forward at times. But, to her point, there was inconsistency. The knee doesn't help. I think that another part of it for her is that, when you sign a new free agent contract, sometimes you feel some pressure to live up to things, and you put extra pressure on yourself. I think that right now she's probably past that, after the first year, and hopefully she can settle down and just, play basketball, and this will help things. But again, this is, delaying some of the things we would have liked to work on this offseason. So it's going to be a little bit more compacted for her. The things she can do on the court, probably won't be happening till after the first of the year, rather than happening, at the end of October, after getting away from it. So, it's an ongoing process for her. I think she and us, would have hoped the season would have gone a little smoother, but it didn't. And so, we'll move forward.
Last thing for me real quick, just how was day one yesterday, and in particular for Ariel and Shakira?
It was good. I mean, it's the first day, you're just, throwing a lot of basics at them. Ariel obviously has been through it before, and, knows what to expect. I thought Shakira did a great job in handling, all the stuff that was thrown at her yesterday. I thought she did a good job. I have no idea what this roster is going to look like. A, the coaches don't pick it. B, we don't have a lot of point guards here in camp right now because of teams still in the playoffs. And so that's going to be delayed even a little bit longer now with Vegas, moving on, because two of the guards, are still playing. Actually, three of them, you count Jackie Young, because she can play point guard too. So that'll be different for us. I'm not going to base everything on one day, but I was happy with how they played.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Tyler.
Hey, Coach, appreciate you doing this. Last offseason, you talked about resetting the team, and you were confident in that earlier in this season. But I'm curious, kind of what's the mindset this offseason and what you want to address with this team? I know you talked about addressing some offensive issues you may have had this season, but what's the overall kind of theme of this offseason for you guys?
That's a big part of it. We have to be better offensively. The players know it. We need to see what opportunities are out there for us to address our roster. We can't go back into next season with the same roster. It's not good enough. It's not bad. It's a playoff team roster. We became a great defensive team. We won 22 games after winning, whatever it was the year before, 12 games, or I don't even know. I think it was 12. And so we made huge strides. I think we had a good culture reset. I think our players like each other and like working together. And they know that individually, in our talks with them individually, they all acknowledge things they can be better at. Each player has, a short list of 2 or 3 things that they can do to get better for us. We'll have a pretty good handful of our players in town for part of the off season to work. For the next few months, obviously Maisha, is going to be doing rehab, but we have Elena in town, and Ariel in town, and Alicia in town, and Natasha around in town, and they plan on working together and doing stuff. And so we have an opportunity to get better, but they need a little bit of more help too.
And then we talked to Shakira, and Shakira told us how she didn't do anything special this year. What do you
I
guys?
would agree with her.
I think many of us share the same sentiment. But as a coach, what are you maybe looking to do to take advantage of the full arsenal that Shakira has as a player and developer going forward in this organization?
Yeah, I mean, it's not all going to come at once. She would like to be more involved in the offense, which I think she will be. But part of that is, the individual work she's been doing on her game, on her shooting routine. Part of it for her is just being a better student of the game. And not that she's not, she has great basketball instincts, but it's a whole new world going from college to the pros. And so, being better at scouting reports, being better at how you address each day as a pro. Like how do I find a routine that fits me to work on 2 or 3 different things, what my post practice looks like, how I spend my time watching film with coaches. I think that's all a part of her learning process. And then she spent most of the last 2/3 of the season or half of the season working on specific shooting things with our coaches, and we could constantly see the improvement. But she wants to add things to her game. She wants to be better with her offhand. She wants to be better shooting mechanic wise. And so I think she'll do the work. The hardest thing for her is that she's going to now go overseas for 4 months, and we don't get to see her every day. And how do you have the discipline to maintain the workouts that you want to do? She's going to check in with our coaches. We may send a coach over there to spend some time with her, but we'll have videos of her, and we'll have FaceTime chats with her to kind of stay on plan with her.
And the last one from me, you mentioned with all the players staying, or a lot of players staying in DC this offseason, which is kind of a little bit unique for this team. How much do you want to maybe be involved with them doing their workouts and training with each other? Or do you want to kind of separate yourself and kind of let them do their own thing?
No, our staff will be involved. They're setting up time with assistant coaches. Some of them have been in there since the end of the season. We've had several players in there working out already. And, a couple of them were getting ready for, USA camp, but others just to kind of maintain a rhythm. I know that, somebody like Ariel, when USA's over, she's going to try to take 3 or 4 weeks off from basketball, not touch a basketball, but then get back in the gym in November and, start working on 2 or 3 things that she knows she wants to get better at. And they will script that with our coaches. We make our staff available to them. They can also come in and just do it on their own, but most of them, like a scripted workout to kind of keep them on task.
Thank you, Mike. Enjoy Vegas.
Yep.
Wayne.
Hey, Coach, good to see you. Tosh said after the game, you told the team you were proud of them. Just wanted to get from your perspective, what made you proud of this team this year?
I think, that's pretty easy for me. I mean, we ended the year a year ago a little bit broken. We were broken physically. We had people that didn't play like Elena and Alicia. We had some chemistry issues. We didn't win. We didn't make the playoffs. And, we turned a lot of things around. We had an off season where, we made good use of our lottery pick, in using it in a trade that got us a very, very good young player in Shakira. We drafted Kristen Williams, who hopes to come back from her injury. We have a lottery pick now because of it. And, the players kind of banded together, to say, okay, what's our identity? And we all knew that we could have a great defensive identity. We didn't know what we were going to be offensively. We didn't have salary cap room to go out and, sign a star free agent offensive player. This wasn't going to happen. So we built an identity, and we went from 12 wins to 22 wins, tied for fourth in the league. In a very, I mean, as we've watched these playoff games the last week, the top talent level in our league is really good right now, and we are part of that group that can win at that level. We have to get better, but I think they bought into all the things we were trying to do and held each other accountable, particularly on the defensive end, where that holding each other accountable on defense is a task for some teams and coaches, but they bought in, and so I was proud of that. We weren't good enough, but at the same time, we made huge strides.
And speaking with that, Coach, towards the end of the season, it felt like the team had kind of, you said, gelled together, band together. I guess when you look back at it, what were some of those moments that you look back and say, well, it might have had some adversity here, but we kind of stuck together and got through it?
I mean, we've talked about it or talked around it a lot during the season, but I think it was much more difficult, particularly in the first half of the year, for our players to have to try to figure out how to deal with. The coaches had to deal with it, but players deal with, Elena being in and out of the lineup, and other players, on minutes limits. Your roles changed from game to game, and that's a real thing. We tried to run some of the same stuff, and some of the plays that we run for Elena, we run for Maisha or somebody else. But the reality is, your best player is in and out of the lineup, and so that took a while for adjustment. And I think that as we got toward the latter part of the season, Elena played a little bit more, or a lot more, but it also, we kind of had figured out who we were with her and without her. It wasn't easy, but I think that's part of, handling things better. Obviously, other players got healthier, and we just had more time together. We all have to figure out in a 30-some game season how to gel a lot quicker, and it's not easy. The NBA plays 82 games, and you hear NBA coaches talking about game 50 and trying to, make sure we're all on the same page. And, it just doesn't happen that simply. The teams that are still left playing, most of them have played together for a fair amount of time. Connecticut's had the same group for a while. Chicago has had the same, key players for a couple of years, but Seattle has the same group they've had for the most part, but they had to add some pieces to get better. We're in that mode now. We need to add a piece or two to get better.
And Coach, last one for me. Roy said that in her press conference, she felt kind of comfortable and more confident towards the end of the season shooting the ball. Was there any tips or just improvements you gave her going forward?
I mean, we talked about the things that she needs to work on. She knows that if she's going to make this league long term, she's going to have to be a bigger threat offensively. It's just a fact of the game. And she knows, she's been working on stuff every day, and, we'll see how that translates this winter. She's going to try to put, that into use in her team in Japan. It's not a given that, you can make all those, leaps, but I think, she knows that that's a big key for us to be played honestly. And that's just a fact of the matter. You have to make shots to be a guard in this league and play big minutes.
Thank you, Coach.
Gabe.
Hey, Coach. Thanks for doing this. I was wondering, since you're in Vegas, you guys have so many young stars there with, Nalissa and Howard and Shakira and Ariel, obviously. Just wondering how it feels to have two of those young stars that are kind of at the top of the Team USA pile when you've had such a veteran team for so long.
I mean, I think that's, the hope of any organization, that you can have a blend of veteran players who can lead your team and be the mainstays while developing young players. And we are, in that position. I mean, Ariel's coming into the prime years of her career. Shakira is just, she's barely scratched the surface, in my opinion. And I think she would agree with that. There's so much more she has. We have a lottery pick. We have the ability to maybe get another young player somewhere, or a middle-aged veteran that can help our team. And so it's great encouragement. Just in the one practice, I mean, I'm watching the young players in the league and come in and quit themselves. They've come in, hungry. They are ready to play, and it's fun to watch for the development of the league too.
And has Shakira kind of changed any of your draft strategies? And obviously I don't want to know what your draft strategies are.
I don't have a draft strategy yet because I don't know what our pick is. And the other problem is we're still in this time period with the draft is we don't know who's going to be in the draft.
Right.
There are still players who could be in or decide to stay in college. That's a real wrench for executives in our league to prepare for the draft, because you're still kind of guessing, is this person going to come out? Is this person staying? Until they actually say something, you really don't know.
Okay, so I guess my question is, are you more comfortable with putting a rookie in the positions you want to be in rather than having to go out and find the veteran because of Shakira?
I can't say that one way or the other. I don't.
Okay.
I think because I think we have different areas to show her up, and so at least one of our off-season things may need to be a veteran player. I think that's on the table for us.
Okay, Coach. Really appreciate it. That's all I got. Thanks.
All right.
Christos?
Hello, Coach. Hope you're doing well, first of all. Speaking about Elena, on the next season, do you expect a healthy Elena, an MVP caliber season?
That would be the hope. That's what she's hoping for. She approached it at times this year. I mean, not far off the 50, 40, 90. We're talking about a few less minutes a game and still, being, in that 17 to 20 point range. That's an all-star player. MVP, I mean, we have so many MVP candidates in our league, but I expect her, and I know her expectation is to, be as close to the Elena of the past as she can be. I mean, there's no other way to look at it.
And also, speaking about Shakira, will you expect a bigger piece on offense from her going to her second season?
I mean, I expect that, we'll have more her understanding of what we need and her being able to contribute more just because she's more comfortable. I think she would tell you when you're a rookie and you come in, you feel sped up a lot of the time. And the best veteran players offensively are the ones that can kind of take a deep breath and stay calm in the moment. You're seeing that in these playoffs, players who, can make a big shot when there's craziness around them. And then I just think that that's part of the growing up process that she has to have, to slow herself down a little bit and not get over anxious offensively.
Christy?
Thank you very much.
Hey there, Coach. Good to see you. With what you said about the team needing offense, what kind of, hope do you have in the returning players to bolster their offensive progression before you look into getting that from free agency?
That's a great question. Don't know if I have a great answer, in the sense that, like Natasha has told you, I want to be more consistent. Ariel will tell you that she wants to be more consistent. I mean, consistency is the biggest thing. If you're a 3-point shooter, are you going to be a 37, 38%, 36% 3-point shooter all throughout the season? Are you not going to be streaky? I think one of the parts is, you have some players who, one night can go 4 for 7 from 3 and the next night go 1 for 8. That's not consistency because you can't depend on it every night. And I think that's, what they would tell you. I think that, there are other players that didn't shoot at the same level that they normally have over their career. And so, you want to be able to do that. But clearly, I think we need to add to their help. I think that one of the encouraging things for me, and I think she wants to, to be a part of our team, is that we had somebody like Shatori Walker-Kimbrough make big strides this year. And I can see her role expanding offensively on our team. It did as the year went along. So that's, another area. You guys all mentioned at the start about Maisha and her consistency. If you knew every night what that was going to look like coming off this, surgery and getting healthy, then you can, have a defined role for somebody and know what you're going to get every night. And that's the different ways we get there. And the free agency class this year is pretty significant around the league. So we'll see.
And when you say significant and you need an injection of offensive efficiency, how important will it also be to look at plug and play players defensively because of how well you played defense this year?
Well, the hope is that if you go and get a player that they are good at both ends of the floor. I mean, that would be in ranking players. That's how you would, look at it. If you had two players that were even offensively and one of them was a better defender, that makes sense to me.
Thank you, Coach.
We'll go to Kareem and then Tyler.
Second time around, I got a quick one for you, Mike. And completely off topic, as I'm sure you're watching the playoffs still. And you've played and coached with A'ja before. I'm just curious, just overall, when it comes to A'ja Wilson, what are you impressed the most by her?
Well, I think there's a couple things. I mean, she was a willing player to expand her game. When she came into the league, she was a, play in the 15-foot and in area. She's expanded her game offensively to be able to shoot threes. She's become a better passer. She just, you can tell that she's worked on different parts of her game. I mean, she's a handful every night to take away her strengths. It used to be you took away just her left hand and you try to force her in traffic certain ways. She's learned how to handle all the great veterans who become stars in the league, have things they add to their game. She's obviously done that. And then she's upped her defensive game. And, she's taken that role seriously as a leader on her team to get on her teammates a little bit defensively. I don't think that they had a defensive identity at the start of the year because, they had different shuffling. Liz Cambage left. They were, figuring out who they were with a new coach. But I thought that they got better defensively. And I think that, they've had good game plans that, help her know exactly what her role is defensively. But like all the great players that, she's got a work ethic about her to be great. And that's, more than anything else, she's put in the work.
And last one silly question for me that I don't think we've officially asked, but you will be back on the sideline next year, right?
I have not even discussed that at the moment. So, like I told you all a year ago and the year before, that's a discussion. I'm dealing with USA basketball right now. I have a contract that goes for, I don't know, it's another year and a half of my contract. So the expectation is that I'll do what I do every year and sit down with my family and sit down with Ted and say, what do we want to do? But I'm focused on USA basketball right now.
Had to ask. Thank you.
Yep.
Tyler.
Mike, I just want to confirm, is Rui a restricted free agent this year?
He is what's called a reserve player. So a reserve player is somebody who has less than 3 years experience that we retain their rights. They can have an open negotiation with us, but they cannot negotiate with another team.
And are there any other team control situations with the free agents?
No, I think everybody else, Tiana, Alicia, Elizabeth, Shatori are all unrestricted.
Awesome. That's it for me. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I think that concludes media then, Coach. Thank you.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks. See you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Mike.
We'll see you around lottery time.
Mike, I'll see you in Vegas in a couple of days. I'm out there on Friday.
There you go. All right. I'm headed to the Hall of Fame for a day.